Okay. I now call the June 24th, 2025 meeting of Charlotte-Mecklenburg Board of Education to order. Board members Rankin and Ship will be participating by simultaneous communication via Zoom. There being no opposition to the items on the agenda, it's adopted by unanimous consent. The consent items being presented in to the board in advance. Is there a motion to approve the consent items as presented?
I move.
Moved by Klein.
Second.
Second by Witherspoon. All those in favor? It is unanimous, Madam Clerk. Oh, yes. Oh, unanimous, Madam Clerk, with 7. All right. Not here yet. I turn to Dr. Hill for the contracts and change orders report, June 2025.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry. Madam Chair, what was that vote again on the consent? What was the vote on the consent?
It was 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can you see?
1, 2, 3.
See?
Well,
Ms. Ship? Oh,
Ship is on there. We're straight. 7. Yes. All right, and now we have principal appointments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, we have 3 principal announcements tonight that are actually administrative transfers. We are pleased to announce that Kevin Sudamak will be the new principal at West Mecklenburg High School. Mr. Sudamak has 27 years in education. He is currently serving as the principal at Kennedy Middle School. He served as the assistant principal at multiple schools here in our district, and also began his teaching career at East Elementary School in Union County Public Schools. Congratulations, Mr. Sudamak. Next, we have Dr. Susan Nichols. Dr. Nichols will be the new principal at Audrey Kell High School. Dr. Nichols is currently serving as the principal at Charlotte Engineering Early College and Charlotte Teachers Early College here in CMS. She has 27 years of experience. She's also served as the principal at Eastover Elementary and several other schools. She began her teaching career in Birmingham, Alabama at Irwin High School. Congratulations, Dr. Nichols. And next we have Rhiannon Polite. Rhiannon Polite will be the new principal at our Charlotte Engineering Early College and our Charlotte Teacher Early College. Ms. Polite is currently serving as the principal at Lebanon Road Elementary School. She has served as the assistant principal at several schools here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools and began her career as a teacher at West Mecklenburg High School. And that concludes the principal appointments.
All right, I turn to Dr. Hill for the contracts and change orders report from June 2025.
As presented.
I turn to Dr. Hill for the student outcomes focused governance monitoring report, guardrail 1, interim measure 1.3.
As presented.
I turn to Dr. Hill for the student outcomes focused governance monitoring report, goal 3, interim measures 3.1 and 3.2.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening. I am providing a brief presentation prior to our discussion, This report is focused on Goal 3, Interim Measure 3.1 and 3.2, Middle and High School Math 1. Goal 3 is to increase the percentage of students scoring college and career ready on Math 1 assessments from 27% in June 2023 to 57% in June 2029. To achieve this goal, students must make a 5% increase each year on the Math 1 end-of-course assessment. I will note that this is the goal that has the most aggressive goal targets out of the board's 4 goals. Now let's take a look at Interim Measure 3.1, the performance of middle school students taking Math 1. Based on student performance on the final benchmark of this year, 36% of students taking Math 1 are projected to be a level 4 or 5 on the end-of-course assessment this year. As you can see from the table, the actual percent of middle and high school students achieving a level 4 or 5 on the Math 1 EOC increased from 27% in 22-23 to 28% in 23-24. This fell short of our goal target by 32% by 4 percentage points. The target for this year is 37%, which requires a 9% point increase this year. Now let's look at interim measure 3.1 for the performance of middle school students taking Math 1. Based on student performance on the final benchmark of the school year, 76% of middle school students taking Math 1 are projected to be a level 4 or 5 on the end of course assessment this year. This is an increase of 9% points over the actual Math 1 performance of students in middle school for the 23-24 school year. The target for this year is 75% of students taking Math 1 are a level 4 or 5. The actual percent of middle school students achieving a 4 or 5 on the Math 1 EOC increased from 65% in 22-23 to 67% in 23-24. This fell short of the 23-24 target of 70% by 3 percentage points. The target for this year is 75%, which requires an 8% point increase this year. Now let's look at measure 3.2, the performance of high school students taking Math 1. As a reminder, students this school year taking Math 1 in high school most often fit into one of the following categories. Students who did not meet the criteria to take Math 1 in middle school, students who did not choose to take Math 1 in middle school, students who enrolled in the school district and had not taken Math 1 in middle school, regardless of previous math performance. Based on high school Math 1 student performance on the final benchmark this year, 18% of high school students taking Math 1 this school year are projected to be a level 4 or 5 on the end of course assessment. The actual percentage of high school students achieving a 4 or 5 on the Math 1 EOC remained flat from 9% in 22-23 to 9% in 23-24. This fell short of the 23-24 target of 14% by 5 percentage points. And at this time, I'll turn to you, Madam Chair, to facilitate questions.
Board members, we will follow our normal cadence, looking backwards first. Board Member Monterey Duval.
Dr. Hill, I'm looking at middle school Math 1. If I'm reading this correctly, we've had a net change of 9 percentage points based off of last year from 67% to 76%. Is that right?
I'm sorry, can you tell me what page you're on?
It's slide 27.
Slide 7 in the presentation.
Sorry, my internet is out.
Oh, no, you're fine.
9.
Slide 9.
Got it. Okay, so middle school Math 1. Yes,
So
ma'am.
basically, we've had a nice jump. Great job. I'm curious, was there any specific strategies that you felt like really stood out? We have a lot of strategies. I assume like at this point, it's like kind of figuring out like casting a wide net and then reevaluating, okay, based off of this school year, what really were the big bets? What are we going to double down on for next year to continue the momentum? Do you have any, I know it's just the end of the year, but do you have any insights, any gut feelings, or any data backed,
Yes.
point of view?
Thank you so much for this question. This report is really hard to give because I know what our actuals are. So it's really difficult to speak looking at that gray bar when I know what the actual is. So I'm not going to talk about the actual number, but I'm going to talk to you about, to answer your question in terms of learning, in terms of middle school. So one of the things that has been a big shift in terms of our middle school is heavily focused on scheduling and making sure that students are scheduled in the correct courses. The other thing that we've paid heavy emphasis on is making sure that our teachers that are teaching Math 1 in the middle school go through our DREAM, which is our local AIG endorsement, thank you, to make sure that the teachers that are teaching advanced math, which would be Math 1 in high school, really have all of the skills necessary to make sure that they're providing the most rigorous content. So we have noticed that that's been extremely successful. The other thing that I would say is there has been good use of the curriculum in middle school as well. Some of the things that we are focused on working on next year and over the summer is to make sure that we are using strategies to make sure that students are engaged and also making sure that there is really great discourse with students in terms of when they're grappling with different math concepts in the classroom and that active engagement.
All right, a board,
Sorry.
no, did you have a follow-up? No, board membership.
I may have noise in the background, I'm sorry. What attribute to making the goals, well, not making the goals, but missing the goals so closely when you had a situation where there was 138 students that we just didn't reach? What happened there when we were so close to reaching that goal of, I think that was the goal of 37? Overall, I think it was that overall target there. A middle school, that was middle school, I'm sorry. I think that was middle school.
What slide were you?
Page four, and then, yeah, page 4, 30, we hit 36 instead of 37. We were so close there, and that's looking at increasing the percentage of students scoring CCR, college and career ready on Math 1 assessments from 27% to this year would have been to, I think was 37%.
That's correct. Our target for this year is 37%. So yes, ma'am, I apologize. I didn't know where you are. So you're speaking of, let's see, the overall for Math 1, and you are correct. So this year our target is 37%. I think what you're pointing out is that our projection right now is 36%, and I believe your question is why do we believe we missed it? Is that correct?
Yeah, you had 138 students left to get. What happened then?
Yeah, so again, that is really hard to answer, keeping in mind that that gray bar that you see is a projection. It's not our actual. So that is one piece of data in terms of our benchmark. One thing that I will note that's important for you all to know, when we looked at our assessment this year, the team has told me that one specific area that is heavy in Math 1 that we did not include on our assessment is the area of quadratics. So quadratics make up about 25% of the actual assessment, and when the final assessment was given, the teachers had not completely covered that unit. So looking back, that's one of the learnings that we have. One of the other learnings that we have is we were given the ability to make some changes to our benchmark assessment. We've been advised by MVPA not to do that in the future because it does tinker with the predictability of the assessment. So moving forward, we won't necessarily be making changes, and we will also make sure that we have a lot of time and space for our teachers to focus on quadratics. If you're actually looking at the blueprint for Math 1, it falls under functions. There's 3 types of equations that are under the functions, which makes up between 32 and 36% of the assessment: linear equations, exponential equations, and quadratics. And quadratics is the piece that is extremely difficult. But the math team has told me that it is extremely difficult, but it includes you have to have a great foundation of all of the standards in the entire course before you get to quadratics, which is why it's at the end. So looking back to your point, that's one of the learnings. We know that we have to do a really good job to make sure that we're covering the content before the assessment is given if we're going to have a valid predictor on our benchmark.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Vice Chair Rankin. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm referring to slide 29 in the appendix, which highlights high school math 1 performance. I see that 4 student groups are projected to achieve double-digit growth, and the 5th group is just 1 point away. Could you share specific strategies or interventions that have proven most effective in driving this progress to get us to this point?
I'm sorry, Mr. Rankin, can you repeat your question?
Sure. I'm looking at, you see the slide I'm referring to?
You said slide 29?
Well, in ours, it's slide 29, but it's in the appendix.
Okay.
I'm referring to slide 29 in the appendix, which is high school math 1 performance.
Okay.
Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I see that there are 4 student groups that are projected to achieve double-digit growth, and a 5th group is 1 point away. Could you share specific strategies or interventions that were proven to have to be the most effective in driving this progress?
Yes. So specific strategies that I do want to call out would be, let me call the specific project. It would be our curriculum and professional development strategy. That's project P01, provide comprehensive curriculum and professional development. This project and strategies that are associated with this project have been one of the most critical, and that's because we are heavily leveraging our instructional specialist. And when I say instructional specialist, I'm including both our curriculum specialist as well as our instructional specialist. One of the things that they have done, which has been a huge game changer, is they have utilized all of the resources, such as the response to benchmark documents, and they take a look at everything, how our students are performing, and what they have done is they have created exemplar videos for our teachers. Now, these videos can be used for teachers during planning. They can be used for students who may be absent. That has been a huge strategy that has worked and been extremely effective. One of the things that we plan to do with those videos is include that in our parent portal, so parents who may be helping their students at home with their work will be able to watch an exemplar lesson. So that has been a huge win. The other thing that I would say that's been a really big win for us is the professional development that's been provided to our master teachers and then also to our teachers. One of the things moving forward that we are going to do to strengthen that is make sure that we are able to carry through that through line, meaning that what happens with the professional development, that we're providing that scaffolded support, not only with professional development, but coming into the PLCs and supporting the teachers as they plan, doing some modeling for teachers, and then also coming back and observing the teachers as they are implementing the strategies.
All right.
Thank you.
Board Member Witherspoon.
Thank you. I know that within and beyond our goals that your team and your staff continue to monitor our various groups. My question is, what does that look like at the school level as it relates to MTSS, high dosage tutoring? How are we assuring that they're aligned and really focus on sort of those underperforming subgroups, blacks, Hispanics, MLs, students with disabilities and such?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So the first thing that we have to make sure that we do is provide a really strong core instructional experience for every single student at every single school. And so one of the ways that we do that is through the curriculum, as I mentioned. The other way that we do that is through professional development. And then the next way that we do that is through our core action walks. In that, each of our schools, through our instructional tenets, have time set aside that's for, some of them call it intervention time, intervention enrichment. Some schools call it what I need, whatever it's called. But every school inside of their instructional tenets are required to have a section of time that's set aside for students for both intervention, if students are performing below grade level, as well as enrichment for students that are above grade level. And so that is built into their schedule. The principal, of course, is responsible for monitoring that and making sure that it happens. But our master teachers and as well as our specialist support with that work as well. The resources that we have provided, I believe it's page 50 for me, but we have our resources in a hub. And so in that hub, teachers have at their fingertips access to all of the lessons that they may need specific to any particular standards that students may be missing. Specialists have been really instrumental for building all of that work out for our teachers.
Okay. Just one follow-up. Yeah, page 19, at least on mine, it's under Project 10, MTSS, Accelerated Learning.
Yes.
Just trying to frame this strategically, but just to ask a question, you can probably help me. When it says in the strategic adjustments, the support third bullet point, if you're there.
I'm getting there, sorry. Yes, I have it.
But it says to support school-based MTSS leadership teams in aligning MTS implementation to North Carolina STAR indicators. What does that alignment look like? What I'm assuming that all schools may have may not be fully aligned.
Oh, the NC STAR indicators. Okay, so those NC STAR indicators, that is the our school improvement plans. And so when you talk, one of the things that we are really proud of that we've done, let me explain exactly what that means. So the NC STAR indicators are our school improvement plans. The school improvement plans are all in a platform called NC STAR, and they have specific indicators. Some of those indicators are specific to statewide initiatives, and MTSS is one of those. So that's why those are listed there specifically. This time last year at our summer leadership conference, we started asking our principals and our instructional leadership teams what are the things that they felt like their schools needed to work on. They needed to think about that in light of the goals that the board had just approved that we would be implemented this school year. So when we talk about our school improvement plans, we were really strategic in terms of, as those schools developed their plans, did it match their data? Did it match what they thought they needed? And did it align with these indicators that are there? And so schools are required to have ongoing school improvement plan meetings, and they review those school improvement plans, they make adjustments to those plans. All of that is integrated into the work that we're doing in terms of review, our quarterly data reviews as well. So at the end of every quarterly data review, part of that process is to go back to your school improvement plan and see if any adjustments need to be made. In some instances, there need to be adjustments made in the area of MTSS.
Thank you.
All right, Board Member Klein.
Thank you. Congratulations on the 76%. That's awesome. My question is, looking at middle school and high school, and this is a looking back, hybrid forward, are there things that you did with the middle school students that you should have, looking back, think you should have done with the high school students that could have improved that score? Or is it just a factor of many other factors for high school?
Yeah, so when students are taking a middle school Math 1 class, it's advanced, right? So that's first because it's for high school credit. So students are obviously taking a course that is above what is their grade level. So we have looked at how we are structuring middle school Math 1 as it relates to our high school Math 1 honors courses, not necessarily the year-long or the standards courses. Right. So, it's really difficult to kind of tease out the data. The best thing that we would have to do would be a really deep probably research, because what you would want to look at is how are those students performing before they entered Math 1 in middle school, and then how were those students performing before they entered Math 1 in high school, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
But regardless of what the actual number is, the expectation is that we would continue to see gains year over year. And so what we do know is that our middle school saw greater gains in terms of CCR than our high school did. So that is one area of growth that we have already identified, probably about whenever we got the data back immediately. And we got that data back, and the next meeting I was in, they were already talking about plans to address it. Dr. Balknight met with all the school performance officers, the learning and teaching team, so plans are currently underway to address that. Looking forward,
Well, I have a follow-up.
You have a follow-up?
For looking forward, but I'll wait. I'm trying to.
Okay, it
Follow
was
the
kind of
rules.
an answer to your question,
Okay.
if I can answer it. Okay, so one of the things that we are doing this summer with Camp CMS, it's something that's new, and so we have students that are in our schools for summer school, but we're also using that as a professional development opportunity and giving teachers an opportunity to practice with some really tough content. So I mentioned quadratics earlier being really difficult to teach, really difficult for students to grasp. And when you think about summer school, a lot of times you think about a repeat of previous content or watered down. We're taking a different approach and really doing a preview for students that will be taking Math 1 next year and really diving deep into some of the concepts that they're going to need during the school year. So that's one of the things that we're really excited about. Teachers are in there teaching, instructional specialists are right there next to them and supporting them as well. So that's one of the things that we're doing to address performance in both middle school and high school Math 1.
Backwards?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, forward, right? Okay.
Was that okay?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
go
sorry,
ahead.
I wasn't sure if you were talking to me. I'm specifically talking about the high school math on slide, God, it goes 10. It's the graph
Okay.
with the targets. Okay, so I noticed in 2023 and 2024 that we have stayed the same at 9%. And I know the numbers aren't released yet. I know you know them because the state has not allowed you to put them out yet. I do want to make that very clear. It's not that she doesn't want to tell us the numbers, it's she's not allowed to tell us the numbers yet. State data has not been released. But what do you think? I mean, that's double. That's a huge jump. And I want to congratulate you and your team on that. But and I know this is kind of what.
Don't congratulate us on a projection.
Well, okay, but the projection you are very true. The projection has some sort of backing of evidence behind it. So I am applauding that your evidence that you are making the assumption that this actual is at least this.
Let me just put it this way. It's kind of like predicting the weather.
Fair enough. But, okay, so then that really means I need to rephrase my question. What do you believe is, and I know Board Member Monterey kind of asked this question, what do you believe is the biggest indication for that large jump? And I'm sorry that was very jumbled, but I just want to know what specifically do you account, was that teachers in the classroom, was that the instructional strategies, was that looking, you know what I mean? Like what was that? Can you identify one or two things that caused that specific jump?
Well, again, I want to go on record saying that this is a projection, not necessarily a jump. It's what we were predicted to do. Can I rephrase your question?
Please.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, I think maybe what I want to speak to is, or maybe what you may be asking, or what are some of the things that we've put in place to support high school
There we go.
Math
That would
1?
be, I was trying to rephrase it from what she had said because I had the exact same question. I was like, wait a minute, but I still want to know a little bit more about the strategies that you used that worked.
So I talked a little bit already about the strategies that worked in terms of curriculum, professional development, making sure that we're doing the core action walks. Again, looking a little bit I'm I just have a tendency to look forward because I already know what the data is, so I'm just
Right.
going to answer it.
I understand.
So, looking forward, one of the things, as I talked about, is we are going to be even more tight in terms of the professional development that's delivered, teachers implementing it in their classroom, and again, us providing that side-by-side gradual release, making sure that there's support and planning as well with the master teacher. One of the things that we looked at actually this morning is we pulled the data for students that are scheduled already for high school math. And what we did is took a look at the number of students who were non-proficient in 8th grade. So right now, they were non-proficient on their 8th grade test, so they have to take Math 1 next year. All kids that are in 8th grade have to take, and how they're scheduled. If those students are scheduled in semester 1 standard, semester 1 honors, or if they're in semester 2 standard, semester 2 honors, and year long. And so there's already a plan looking at those students to say to the schools, all right, we have our data back, we know who these students are, the team's already worked to pull it. Are these students appropriately scheduled so they'll be successful next year? For example, if you have a non-proficient student in 8th grade math who is not scheduled for Math 1 until second semester, that's probably a really not a good idea, right? You have a student that's been from kindergarten all the way to 8th grade that's been in year-long math their entire career, and all of a sudden they get to high school, the most rigorous math class they've ever taken, and they have no math class first semester, they only have it second. Probably not a good idea. So those are the types of things that we're being a little bit more intentional about now that we weren't necessarily as intentional about from a district lens. Now, individual schools may or may not have been doing that, but that's one of the things that we're taking a little bit of a look at a district lens now.
May I have a follow-up?
Yeah.
Can you give me a little umbrella size, right, of the team that is doing this? Is this a district team? Is this the specialist? Is this the principal and the counselor? Because that's how I knew who did this, is the counselor and the principal. So now we're looking at district level. How has that group changed?
Yeah, so the principal and the counselor still do that work, but the accountability team actually is able to pull that data and reports and deliver it to the schools so they don't have to do as much legwork. What we're really trying to do is leverage the skill set of folks at the district level so the folks at the school can spend their time with the people. We don't want them to spend all their time pulling the data. We want to be able to provide the data for them, help them analyze it, point out some things, so then that way they can go to work doing the thing. So in that particular instance, it is the accountability team that's pulled the data, but they will work very closely with the school performance officers, the counseling team as well, to make sure that those conversations are had.
Great. Thank you for explaining that.
All right. Vice Chair Rankin, do you have a backwards question or forward?
Backwards.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm looking at it's at the very end of the appendix. You don't have to go there. It's talking about the selection process of middle school Math 1 students, but there's no I didn't see anything in there about selection process for high school Math 1, because I know in one of our previous monitoring sessions we were talking about how the year-long Math 1 with foundations was paired with Math 1 throughout the year to help boost those students. And I was wondering if you can talk through that strategy and how is that strategy still being used, and how that strategy has been used, and how has it been working with those students?
Yes, that strategy is still being used. You're speaking of the year-long course, and essentially it's Math 1 and Foundations of Math 1 that's blended into a Year 1 course. It's an A-Day, B-Day. That has been successful. It's a strategy that we're using. We have grown in the number of schools and offerings in which we are providing that. We have a lot of learnings from that course as well. One of the things I've mentioned already is, again, with the quadratics, making sure that that's introduced earlier and making sure that students are really firm in that. In terms of criteria, you started asking a question about criteria and who is actually
Selection
assigned
process
to that year-long course?
Yeah. Yes, selection process, because I can understand the selection process being intentional with the math one in 8th grade. However, that's a, advanced course almost. But then the selection process of those students who would possibly need the year-long math one. Well, you answered my question about the strategy and it is working. That's great. But I just want to hear more about the selection process. Is that something that's also a part of the strategy?
Yes, sir, and that's what I was speaking to with Board Member Easley when she was talking about, we've already taken a look at identifying who are those students in 8th grade that scored a level 3, 4, or 5, or students who may have been non-proficient. So in North Carolina, there's general statute that requires students that score a level 5 to be placed in advanced math courses. So that would be the legislative criteria that's there. We also recommend that if you have students that are non-proficient, that they not be in a semester course, but those are students that probably need the year-long Foundations and Math 1 course blended for the entire year.
Okay, thank you.
I believe we're ready to go to forward questions. Board Member Byers-Bailey.
Thank you. I listened to you talking about the quadratics that were missed.
Don't ask me how to do it.
I would not, promise you, I would not. I was wondering, was there any possibility that they could catch up with that part that they missed during summer?
Well, if students didn't pass the course, students would be enrolled in credit recovery this summer, and they would be recovering any part of the course that they were not successful in. So our teachers and teams do use data from their EOC report and data from their course to determine what specific courses would be needed in terms of credit recovery. So yes, they would get that because they need that to be successful in their next math level course. So it depends on if the student failed the course and is taking the course again for credit recovery, or if the student, it's also possible that a student wasn't successful on the EOC for whatever reason, but still was able to pass the class.
I guess I was thinking in terms of the ones that were successful on the parts that were covered, but since that wasn't covered, could they catch it in the summer, or are they going to have to catch it in the next fall?
They could catch it during Camp CMS if they're enrolled in that. It is, that's the problem with students not mastering all of the standards when they're in a course, because they automatically go to the next course not prepared, with the huge gaping hole. That's why it's not okay for students not to master as many standards as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Board Member Klein.
Which sort of leads, you opened the door for my question. Looking, and I know it's a lot of work, I'm going to put that up front. Looking at the students in high school who do not master Math 1, are we looking at the areas in which they're deficient on their EOGs? I know that's a lot, but are we going to look at it and supplement Math 2 in order to be prepared for success in Math 3? Because I know they're building blocks and they're strands versus the old Algebra 1 geometry and Algebra 2. So are you looking to look at deficiencies to supplement?
Yes, so the team does have resources that are built out when, every student gets a report from their EOC in terms of what areas they, how they performed in each of the areas. So each student has that report. Teachers have that information when they start school. We do not have strong district-wide strategy around ensuring that teachers are using that information, that schools are using that information to provide support for students as they enter into the course at the beginning of the year. However, our teachers do, teachers have those tools in their tool belt. Master teachers are trained to know this, that when students do enter into a course and they start struggling in whatever area, they do have a hub of resources to be able to support. So in some of the resources you will see, if a student didn't do well in this standard, this is what you might need to do to scaffold them, to prepare them for the next level. So the resources are available. I can't necessarily speak to the strategy that we have to make sure that that's happening for students that are missing pieces at the end of Math 1.
So for the new teachers, will the instructional specialist at the school level help them figure that out so that if I can't get quadratic formula, which you'd have to look it up every time, I have to look it up every time, how to work that with that student so that they're successful and how to apply it? Are they going to do that so that they can go into their bag of tricks?
Yes, so that is,
Toolbox.
yes, so that is a strategy that is in place, and that would happen specifically through the professional learning community, the PLCs that they have weekly. So the master teachers are a part of that. They are reviewing student data, current student data. They're taking a look at whatever content they're teaching, what students may need to be able to front load, to be able to scaffold and access that content, and how students respond at the end of the week after they have their check-in. So that is a formalized process that does happen in our schools. When I spoke a little bit earlier, you may have heard me say something like instructional specialists may be leaning in a little bit with master teachers during the PLC time in specific PLCs where additional support may be needed. Now, that may not be needed across the board, but in areas where it is needed, additional support, we definitely want to make sure that the schools, the PLCs, have that additional support to support teachers and students that may have those gaps.
Makes sense. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Witherspoon.
Oh, thank you again. Just look at page 18, your 31 teacher vacancies for 25-26 school year, secondary math teachers. Question is, are we ensuring if possible that all the vacancies aren't concentrated in so-called low-performing schools? And also, we have, like, it says 300 candidates registered for a teacher residency program. And also that all of our teachers, which are great for all of them, that aren't kind of in the pipeline to low-performing schools in those alternative programs.
Yes, so you are correct. We have 31 secondary math vacancies, 13 that are in our residency program right now. With the work that we have through our retention, recruitment, and talent development team with Nancy Brightwell, we have identified schools that are priority schools, and there's a variety of criteria that we use in terms of criteria, meaning previous staffing history, the tenure of teachers that are at specific schools, and current vacancies. So we have a priority list, and there's very strong strategy around those priority schools to make sure that that team is sourcing the very best candidates, making sure that those candidates are identified and have a lot of support. In my superintendent's report a little bit later, you will hear the success of that work, but we plan to use the same strategies that we've used this year and double down on them to make sure that that happens. With that, there is area to dig, there's opportunity to dig in deeper, specifically for our schools that may be historically low performing, or schools that are hard to staff in terms of the internal transfer process and how that works. So we have great strategy, again, around how we're sourcing new candidates for those priority schools, but then ensuring that those very best candidates, even internally, when internal transfers happen, that those schools are getting top quality teachers for the students that need them the most. That is an area of growth. I've talked to several principals about that and talked to our team about it as well. So we're trying to figure out what are some things that we can do to adjust to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Look forward to hearing about that. That's great.
All right, Board Member Monterey Duval.
Dr. Hill, I'm curious how the summer PD initiatives or the summer initiatives like Crown Academy, more specifically Camp CMS, are going to be evaluated for next year. Like, are we going to use that data? Is it more generalized? Asking for myself since my son will be attending CMS summer camp, and for all students.
Yes, so I'm not really clear on the specific metrics that are going to be used. I do know that there are metrics in place. What I mentioned earlier is we're really excited about this not only being an opportunity for student learning, but also an opportunity for teacher learning. And so giving teachers the opportunity to practice, to have the opportunity to work with students, to have lots of support, to observe other teachers is something that we're really excited about. But it's our first year doing it, and I am not clear on metrics that we're using in terms of.
So we're going to use it as kind of a way to learn and see what we have to evaluate for for future. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I have a question. I'm looking on slide 19 for strategic adjustments and I believe this same metric is used in a number of places. It talks about the increased training opportunities in school-based staff as a metric to accelerate MTSS learning. What strategies are used to incorporate that? How do you work that into additional training for teacher support, considering the limited amount of time? So if you're looking at, it's on page 19, I'm specifically looking at increased training opportunities and avenues for school-based staff.
Is this for core action walkthroughs? Is that what it says at the top?
It says MTSS for accelerated learning.
Okay. I think my page numbers are off. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Give me a minute.
So it's under Project 10.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. Increased training opportunities, is that what you're
Yes,
talking about? Okay, what was your question? I'm sorry.
How is it the opportunity, how do you create those opportunities for increased training opportunities, considering, the schedule that's already set during the school day? So, they get their normal training, but how do you specifically hone the training in that's going to address these particular subject areas?
Right, so the professional development that we are providing is specific to the board's goals. So I'm just trying to. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So what this is saying is that we're making training available for schools and staff with any of our MTSS specialists in terms of any support that they need with the platform and documentation. This is not specifically speaking to specific interventions, but really more of the technical side of how they are documenting the interventions that are used, documenting the progress monitoring, and making sure that that data is being entered and monitored on a regular basis, which is really important, but it's not really speaking to what the intervention is, but more documenting the intervention and using that data to make changes in instruction.
Okay. It looks like those are all the questions. Thank you, board members, as always, for looking virtual to make sure. Looks like we're good. No. Oh, I can't see. Okay, Lenora. Board membership. I didn't see your hand.
Yes, my question was with Project 14 attendance, and I was just interested in, we had 46% of high schools currently have a 92% or higher attendance rate. What are we doing with the others, and how has the change, I don't know how much of this is a change, but the practice of attendance where students, how they have to redo work or not, and if that affects their grades, has that been a problem with the attendance in terms of students coming to school and also getting what they need, especially, we're talking about now in Math 1.
Yes, so that has been a challenge. The change in the policy was in direct response to the change at the state level in terms of previously students who missed a certain number of days would fail a course regardless of how they were performing in the course. So you can have a student that has an A and they've missed a certain number of days, they would fail the course regardless of how they were performing. And so the state basically said, wait a minute, a grade is supposed to be reflective of your mastery of standards, not whether or not you're coming to school. So that should not happen. Schools need to figure out a different way to address attendance, which is more of a character or behavioral issue, right? And so, however, unintended consequence, which quite honestly we saw it coming, you say that and all of a sudden students just say, oh, I don't have to come to school anymore. Parents say I don't have to come to school. So that is something that our team has called out. We have really worked closely, our team's working closely with our external partners and our community partners to make sure that we have one strong message about the importance of school attendance. And then internally, our teams are working with specific school-based teams for those that are under that 92% to make sure that they have strategies in place to motivate students to come to school and encourage great attendance. But it really goes back, Ms. Shipp, to one of the areas that I talked about earlier in terms of what we need to see more of in our classroom. If students are engaged and if students are are having the opportunity to participate in discourse and it's something that they enjoy coming to, we start minimizing absences because students want to be in school. So we're really trying to take the strategy of making sure that school is engaging and a great place for kids to come to make sure that they're coming. But that did cause a hit in terms of our attendance tracking.
Yeah, I had heard so. Thank you for addressing that, but you're right about engagement. Wanting to be a math class, for example, to enjoy. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now I think we are ready to move to our next report. I turn to Dr. Hill for the 25-27 Student Outcomes Focused Governance Monitoring Calendar.
Yes, it is hard to believe that this academic year has come to a close and it is time for us to take a look at the monitoring calendar for the next couple of years. So I'll turn to Chief Thompson to provide that report.
Good evening. Tonight I'll provide a brief report on the recommended 25-27 Student Outcomes Focused Governance Monitoring Calendar. Within this report, I'll describe for you proposed amendments to your currently approved monitoring calendar. These amendments are required to ensure alignment to the district's 25-26 assessment calendar. This will require your approval and consent at the July 8th Board of Education meeting. I'll also provide a brief preview of the content in 25-26 goal and monitoring reports specific to the information about planning and executing goal and guardrail aligned strategies, beginning with the August 26th Board of Education meeting. This information will not require your approval. I'll start with the recommendation for your 25-27 monitoring calendar. The recommended changes include the following. Having 6 Goal 2 reports aligned to the 25-26 district assessment calendar. This means there'll be 2 reports for end-of-year results, 2 reports for Benchmark 1 results, and 2 reports for Benchmark 2 results. Also having 6 Goal 3 reports, again, to align to the 25-26 district assessment calendar. Similar to Goal 2, there would be 2 reports for end-of-year results, 2 reports for Benchmark 1 results, and 2 reports for Benchmark 2 results. We also recommend including links to the Board of Education meeting reports and videos within the monitoring calendar for ease of stakeholder access. This is in response to feedback from community members. For the 25-26 school year, this would be the goal monitoring calendar. The reports highlighted in green are all 24-25 end-of-year reports, so they'll be reporting on this year's actual data. These will share actual data for the entire goal and by grade span. These reports will also provide detailed strategy, implementation phase, success metrics aligned to implementation phase, and strategic adjustments for the 25-26 school year for that particular goal and grade span. The reports highlighted in blue will report on 25-26 interim measure data. The reports from December through March will report on benchmark 1 and semester 1 for goal 4. The reports from April through June are for benchmark 2. The 26-27 monitoring calendar reflects the very same cadence, but just for the subsequent school year. The 25-26 guardrail monitoring calendar reflects the following: 9 guardrail 1 monitoring reports, 3 for goal 1, 3 for goal 2, and 3 for goal 3. These are timed to be the first of the 2 goal reports for each sequence. For example, if there are 2 goal 1 reports, one in December and one at the first meeting in January, you'd have only 1 guardrail report for goal 1, and that would be at the December meeting. There will be 1 guardrail 2 monitoring report in October, 1 guardrail 3 in December, 1 guardrail 4 in November, and these are all timed and scheduled based on data availability. The 26-27 monitoring calendar for guardrails reflects that same cadence again, but for the subsequent school year. When put together, the 25-27 monitoring calendar is shown here. Upon approval on consent on July 8th, it will also be located on the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools website on the Strategic Plan and Measuring Progress tabs. The full calendar is linked to the image on this slide. I want to call out a recommended formatting adjustment for the monitoring calendar. We received feedback from some community members saying it was difficult to go date by date through board docs to try to get, for example, all of the reports for goal 1. And they asked that we link it directly into the monitoring calendar. We thought that was a fantastic idea so that it's easier for people to access reports. And so we are recommending for your approval formatting the monitoring calendar in this way for 25 through 27. For the second part of this report, I want to briefly highlight the content of the goal monitoring reports for the 25-26 school year. This doesn't require your approval, but will be the last opportunity to share this with you prior to starting our cadence in August. Our reports will continue to share progress on the 7 priorities in the strategic plan that directly align to achieving our goals and guardrails. Those include all 5 priorities in the academic excellence pillar and the first 2 priorities in the people excellence pillar. The strategic plan, of course, is on our Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools website. New for the 25-26 school year, you will also see in both our 25-26 annual plan, now on the website, and in our 25-26 SOFG monitoring reports, the planned implementation phases for each of the strategies within the priority and pillar. The 4 phases are planning, initial, full, and sustained. You can see by strategy which implementations phase a strategy is in, and thus be able to know what type of data we'll be able to report on based on that phase. For example, if a strategy is in the planning phase, our reporting will be focused on milestone progress. Are we hitting the targets we need to be able to be ready to launch? If a strategy is in initial implementation phase, our reporting will be focused on implementation and engagement metrics, things like participation or number of things completed. But if a strategy is in full or sustained implementation, our reporting will shift toward metrics that evaluate the effectiveness and impact of the strategy or the system that the strategies, when executed together, will create. Shown here are the strategies within the academic excellence pillar. This same information is also provided in the 25-26 annual plan for the people, operational, and engagement excellence pillars. Each strategy is also aligned to our theory of change, upon which our academic strategy for goals 1, 2, and 3 is based. You can see highlighted in green here that the strategies in priority AE1 support 2 bricks in the theory of change: high quality core instruction and engagement, family engagement. So next year we'll both be measuring our progress on implementing each quote brick in the theory of change, while also measuring our student outcomes progress when all of the quote bricks of the theory of change work together. This is important information to be gathering and analyzing, both for our continued improvement and growth and for financial decisions over each year of the strategic plan, and is required to achieve the goals that lie before us. So for the end of the year, or EOI, reports highlighted in green, each monitoring report will include the components shown here: goal end-of-year performance, a comparison of end-of-year performance to projections, the 25-26 target and needed rate of increase, and by brick in the theory of change and by the overall system, what we learned, what we will improve, and what we will monitor from BOI to MOI in 25-26. For the goal interim measure reports highlighted in blue, each monitoring report will include the components shown here: interim measure performance, a comparison of end-of-year performance to projections, the 25-26 target and needed rate of increase, and by brick in the theory of change and by the system, what inputs from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year and then middle of the year to end of year are telling us, and what strategic adjustments were made based on those data.
And is that, I don't believe that we need to vote on how it appears on our website. I think we just need to, on consent, vote, we're just voting on the calendar itself.
I think our SOFG coach has said that the monitoring calendar in totality is your monitoring calendar. So anything related to the calendar would be for your approval, but
Okay.
we can certainly talk more. I think it is absolutely the spirit of the vote that it is what we're reporting on and the cadence on which that you would be approving. So received.
All right, if there are no other questions, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I turn to Dr. Hill for the 25 through 28 CMS academically, intellectually gifted 3-year district plan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Every 3 years, we are required to bring to you our advanced studies in academically and intellectually gifted plan. So at this time, the team is coming up to share. Dr. Balknight.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. Good evening. I would also like to acknowledge Dr. Heather Lemons. Our Executive Director is here with us tonight as well to answer any questions that you may have. This plan aligns to our Guardrail 1, which focuses on closing achievement gaps. The purpose of this presentation is to gain approval of the AIG plan for the next 3 years, 2025 through 2028. We'll review the new plan, share how the plan aligns with the continuum of services offered for advanced and gifted learners, as well as those who have not qualified yet, but show a need for enrichment and advancement. General statute requires that all districts in the state develop a 3-year local AIG plan with specific components. The plans are comprehensive and must be approved by our local school boards, and the plans are then submitted to the State Board of Education and Department of Public Instruction for review and comment. These are the AIG program standards as outlined on the slide. The AIG program standards operationalize North Carolina critical actions to realize equity and excellence in gifted education to increase access and opportunities for all students. So we focus on student identification, comprehensive program within a total school community, differentiated curriculum and instruction, personal and professional development, partnerships, and program accountability. The new 3-year plan will begin next year and will carry us into the 27-28 school year. The work is guided by 3 main overarching goals. These goals are aligned to the learning experiences of students engaged in advanced studies in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. The plan focuses on structures, systems, and processes to enhance and grow the continuum of services offered for AIG students and advanced learners. So as we look at our 3-year plan in a brief overview, Standard 1 is student identification. This plan proposes enhancements to include a universal screener of iReady that will be administered to all second grade students to ensure that we capture all students that qualify for these services. Standard 2, comprehensive programming. We have Yet University is a nurturing program that first grade students receive as they prepare for identification in second grade. Math is also undergoing phases of development, starting with the purposeful placement with criteria for students eligible to take Math 1 in sixth grade, as well as updates to math trajectories as students decide on math courses to take in middle school. Standard 3 provides a differentiated curriculum and instruction. The plan will focus on creating, implementing, and facilitating expectations and guidelines for effective use of resources as aligned with the grade level standards, while including gifted learning components and enrichment opportunities. Standard 4 focuses on personal and professional development. The plan highlights the local AIG endorsement that has been successfully implemented for middle school math, which was discussed earlier, with the concentration on extending this local AIG endorsement to all grade levels as well as reading or literacy. The local AIG endorsement is known as the DREAM endorsement, which stands for Developing Rigor for Educating Advanced Minds. The skills, resources, and strategies presented in this learning initiative will now be spread to all grade levels to support middle school math and language arts, and then will begin to move into elementary school as well. The plan also includes intentional professional development for administrators and support staff in the school, which is built around understanding the resources used in the classroom and ensuring fidelity of the teaching and learning of advanced learners. Standard 5, which is very important, are partnerships. We have a parent advisory group. They're instrumental with the staff to continue the collaboration, and they will work with us over the next 3 years to share feedback and give examples and help support our family nights, virtual and in person. Standard 6 is our program accountability. There is a data dashboard that will be shared with all schools where data will be collected that they can use in real time to evaluate their teaching and make changes as needed, and teachers will be able to monitor and update as needed. So I'd like to share with you just briefly some advanced studies opportunities by level. So the goal for elementary advanced learners is to provide enrichment opportunities for acceleration, access to rigorous curriculum, and continued growth to reach potential. The full continuum of services for gifted learners in elementary school centers around an inclusive framework and provides opportunities for nurturing, enrichment, extension, acceleration, and co-curriculars. The NEAT framework focuses on nurturing, enriching, accelerating, and thriving for all of our gifted learners. We also have Horizons opportunities are for our students who are in grades 2 through 3, or that are above 2 to 3 grade levels, their current grade level, and need a specialized curriculum to address their advanced academic needs. Single subject acceleration allows students who may have a gifted area in just reading or math to be able to receive a rigorous curriculum based on their identified area. This is a flexible, inclusive approach for appropriately challenging gifted and advanced learners where collaboration is essential. All students' gifts and talents are nurtured through, again, our Yet University beginning in first grade. The goal for middle school advanced program is to provide opportunities to participate in programming that targets higher order thinking, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication through a continuation of learning. Middle school students have access to honors courses. We have evaluated our honors programming and have adjusted it to make sure that it's even more rigorous than it has been in the past. The Horizons program has been expanded to 2 additional school locations, including, it's on our next slide, Randolph Middle School, Coolwood Middle, Bradley Middle, and Community House Middle School. Our 6th grade students that benefit from an extremely rigorous pathway will be offered the opportunity at one of these 4 locations if they choose, or they can receive the services at their home school. To provide this opportunity, students will be screened, all 5th graders, to have the opportunity to begin Math 1 in 6th grade. It is an extremely rigorous pathway, and so it'll be very detailed process. Will utilize iReady data to determine eligibility. Candidates should be in the 96th percentile or higher for their fall and winter administration of iReady. Additional criteria will also be used, and then we'll reach out to our families to make sure that they feel comfortable that their children can handle this level of rigor to begin Math 1 in the 6th grade. So as we look at our high school goal for advanced program, we will continue to have those same things as I discussed, the higher order thinking, critical thinking. At the high school level, we will utilize advanced placement courses, including IB, AP, Cambridge, and CPCC will be offered to our students. The Department of Public Instruction allocates to Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools a little over $8.4 million for our AIG students. A large portion of the funds are utilized for personnel. Our next steps would be a request for approval of the 2025-2028 AIG plan. I will now turn over to Chair Snead to facilitate any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bachnight. Board members, Board Member Easley.
You mentioned, I mean, all of these slides have reading and math on there, but as a science teacher, I'm going to ask now, probably if you're AIG and some of the other, you're going to do with the math and language arts as well, this congruent, but do we have any other programs or any other plan for our students that qualify in science? Or, you know, I know social studies doesn't have a state test, but science does in fifth and eighth.
The Horizons program is one of the programs that has all four core areas. So when they are in the Horizons program, they're in language arts, math, science, and social studies. So they do have that opportunity to have advancement in all the core classes. And then as they go into high school, obviously the honors courses and the AP courses will be allowed for them to take based on their availability.
Great, thank you.
Board Member Monterey Duval.
Thank you for that presentation. And you might do this already, so it might just be a clarification point for me. Does the district plan to track and address potential, I can't pronounce this word, disproportionality in AIG identification over time, particularly by race, socioeconomic status, and language background? If so, how?
So one of the things that I did lift that Dr. Lemons and her team, they've done a really good job with this year. If you notice, we talked about that all second grade students will be screened, all fifth grade students will be screened for Horizons. Previously, it was not consistent across the district. So to your point, we want to make sure that we don't overlook a student that qualifies for those opportunities. And also we support them with our YET program in first grade. So we are definitely working to strengthen the fact that we want to make sure that we reach all students that need this rigorous instruction.
Thank you.
Board Member Klein.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. How does this differ from the learning immersion magnet that we have, and how is that going to play into the AIG plan?
So students that are in the Learning Immersion Magnet for the gifted services, they will continue to receive those gifted services. We're also doing some other things that we'll share as a part of just our review of our magnet program and how we strengthen the entire school model for all the students that attend those schools. So that's a little bit of a different conversation, but any of those students that are identified will receive the same rigorous instruction as well.
Vice Chair Rankin.
Thank you. Well, two questions. One, can you talk through the strategy around expanding the 2 additional schools? Is that for easy proximities, or was there a need at those schools? Can you talk through the reasoning behind expanding to the 2 additional schools?
Yes, sir. I think that Dr. Lemons has done a really good job of making sure that we have inclusive programs in all ways possible. So we have been intentional to make sure that we place those programs geographically around the district. And as I also shared, that if a family is interested in the program, but they don't feel comfortable about their child changing schools, then we'll work with the family to receive those services at their home school. So our goal is just to be inclusive of all students. So that was the purpose of expanding the program to additional middle school sites.
Can I have a follow-up?
Yes.
Okay, because Board Member Klein piqued my interest about, she mentioned learning immersion. The TD Alert is the TD Learning Immersion Program, which I'm a proponent of, and you were talking about full school expansion. Can you talk through that? Because I know that, no, we don't want to differentiate, but at the same time, there's testing done at those different schools, and not that they're receiving any different, but there are certain, once those students score a certain, get a certain score, they're identified as TD, and I want to make sure that we're not going to be watering down the information for the TD students, but also at the same time not segregating learning immersion. Can you talk to what you were referring to?
Yes, sir. Again, our focus is to make sure that we reach all the students that require this rigorous instruction opportunity. So continuing to expand our reach to make sure that kids that qualify get an opportunity, continue to cultivate the kids that are already in those schools that have the program with our nurturing programs, so strengthening that in those schools to make sure the kids that aren't identified in those schools have an opportunity to go into those programs, and then also making sure that we provide the teachers the support that they need, that they can provide that level of rigor to the kids identified, and then also make sure that they're able to nurture the kids that are not identified.
All right, thank you.
Board membership?
Yes, that question was answered. I had about LIT Mang, and I was the principal of that program, so I'm glad that was asked. But my question would be staff. I don't know if you mentioned much about staff and the qualifications for staff, because we have, especially like at the elementary school, where they're sharing an AIG teacher, and then we talk about programming. So have we brought any of that up in this 3-year plan? How are we looking at staffing to ensure that the students that are certified AIG are receiving the type of training, the type of education that's expected with the AIG? And I, had that quite a big question. How are we really supporting that with teachers in schools?
That's a great question. So we started with our middle school Math 1, and we began our DREAM program there, and many of you actually came to see our teachers get the recognition and the award for achieving those local endorsements. And so our goal is to expand the local endorsement opportunity to reading in middle school, but also to our elementary teachers, so that even the classroom teacher will have that skill set so that we can integrate the rigorous instruction just in the regular school day for students, in addition to the students that qualify for the additional pull-out services at the elementary level. So we want to do
Thank you.
more.
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
I have a follow-up on that question, actually. That was my next question. What does PD look like for our teachers? Does that include bringing more into the AIG circle, like getting them certified? Because you say that's professional development standard 4. What does that look like specifically in AIG?
Dr. Lemons, would you like to talk about the DREAM?
Yes. Also, every elementary school in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools has a certified AIG teacher currently. And we work very hard to, in our secondary schools, to provide cohorts and learning experiences where they can go back and take their praxis and receive a AIG certification for the higher grades. So elementary school, we're very blessed that we have no vacancies as of right now, and they're all certified teachers. For professional development, we have done a lot of work reaching out to our teachers and asking, what is it that you need? What do you feel like you need to learn? What do the students need to learn? And for Ms. Ship's point, we don't want to water down anything. We want to take students where they are and grow them even more. So we have asynchronous and synchronous development courses. We also partner with Queens and UNC Charlotte to have some other opportunities for advancement. But we really have reached out and listened to what they need. And one of the biggest things in our plan this year or for the next 3 years, is to really focus on making sure they understand the curriculum they have, and they're able to implement it with fidelity and provide that rigorous curriculum and those enrichment opportunities that will reach the potential of each of the individual learners in their schools. So we are doing kind of a hybrid model of different things based on the input we've received from our teachers and even from some of the administrators as they've walked their building and done their core action walks and seen how their AIG students and classrooms are going and what they would like to see as some more rigor or some more enrichment opportunities.
Is there a plan to bring more AIG teachers on board? Because I know that's a whole certification. I've not done it, but I know
So
that's
the plan is to take the existing staff, as we don't have budget to expand.
Right.
But take the existing staff and at least make sure that they have the local endorsement, even the classroom teachers for the LITD students at the elementary level, teachers that are interested in the regular classroom to have that so that they can increase the rigor in the regular classroom. So that's a great question. Thank you for that commercial. We appreciate it.
Thank you for explaining that to me. I appreciate it.
All right, I have a question. Can you talk about Standard 1 and the Universal I-Ready screener for second graders? How do we know that's the best method to identify those that are, that should have advanced, especially at this young age?
So
Is that the best method to do it?
So we're using multiple data points, but we want to make sure that we're using something that every student in the district takes so that we can look at the same metrics as we identify students to reach out to do additional screening. So that's like step one of the screening, and then we'd contact the families, and then we'd move forward with additional screening for those students.
Okay, thank you. I believe.
Real quick, I-Ready is still state required, correct?
I-Ready is something that we choose to use as
We
a
choose to
school
use it.
system, yes, ma'am. But we also use it as a universal screener that is approved by the state.
Thank you. That's it, I'm done.
All right, I think that is all the questions for this report. Thank you so much to Dr. Balknight, Dr. Williams. I turn to Superintendent Hill for the 25-26 Career and Technical Education application for state and federal funds.
Thank you, Chair Sneed. Dr. Balknight's going to stay put and is going to be joined by the CTE team. We're here tonight to bring to you our annual CTE plan.
Thank you again. I have with joining me tonight, I have Mr. Brett Buchanan, our Executive Director of Career and Technical Education, and we're happy to share with you our 25-26 Career and Technical Education report. This is submitted to the Department of Public Instruction on a yearly basis. This is year two of our plan for the 25-26 school year, and it requires board approval. This work, as Ms. Thompson has shared throughout the year, on track to achieve this year's annual target of 76%. We do not yet have final data for the 24-25 school year. For the Career and Technical Education Grant application, I want to focus on the last two indicators on Goal 4. These indicators are focused on students graduating on track to be one of the 3 E's. The last two indicators are the percent of students earning a Tier 2 or Tier 3 industry credential and the percent of students completing a CTE concentrator pathway. As a reminder, and we've talked about quite a bit this year, junior ROTC will be housed underneath the umbrella of CTE beginning in the 25-26 school year. The state and federal funding provided for career and technical education through this grant is the primary funding source for those goals that I just discussed. To achieve the needed growth in these two indicators, our 24 through 26 career and technical education plan includes the priorities that have been enacted this school year and will continue to be enacted for the 25-26 school year. The priorities are included to provide professional development, provide high-quality onboarding for new teachers, leverage partner connections, create student-focused marketing and awareness campaigns, provide and ensure safety in our classrooms. A grant measure of success in our work is aligned with the two indicators for Goal 4 related to employment. The graph shown here is aligned to Goal 4, Indicator 6, about students earning credentials. This graph illustrates that over the past 4 years, there has been a 38% increase in the percentage of Charlotte-Mecklenburg School CTE pathway completer graduates who earn a Tier 1, 2, or 3 credential in a CTE pathway. So I want to stay on this slide. This has come up quite a bit as we've shared information at our Board of Education meeting. I think this is great news. You see 95% with an asterisk on this slide. Let me speak to what that means. The data shows the percentage of the CTE pathway concentrators who graduated in 2024. They were contacted by our CTE team here locally in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools using the Department of Public Instruction required survey. Students self-reported that they are enrolled, enlisted, or employed 1 year after graduation, 95% of the students that we reached out to. So the total number of students that we were able to get in contact with, 3,735 students. Of those students, 95% of them self-reported that they are one of our 3 E's. So I think we're all to be excited about that, and that is great excitement and opportunity, because that's what our goal is as a district, to make sure that they get to that opportunity. So I would like to just lift a few highlights for 24-25 that our grant was able to help accomplish. Over 1,600 students enrolled in career and technical education courses. They've already earned a Tier 2 or 3 credential this school year. Career and technical education students have earned over 6,900 Tier 1, 2, and 3 credentials. Both metrics are expected to increase significantly as we continue to collect data. We've held 3 large school career awareness events that include over 12,000 middle and high school students, including the Endless Possibilities event, which brought in our 10,000 eighth grade students. We're excited to report that we're going to have 5th graders next year. So it'll be 10,000 eighth graders and 10,000 5th graders. So I'm very excited. I hope the team is as well. The Futures Fair brought 300 students in to Avid Exchange to interact, interview, and network with 43 active business partners. It was truly an amazing event, and many students left with prospects for job opportunities. I actually had a student say to me at graduation that in that event, she decided to enroll in the military, and she was sharing with me that that's when that all occurred at that event. And the What's Your E event, during which we celebrated a little over 1,500 seniors in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools showcasing their post-secondary choices. On this slide, there are 6 components to the CTE grant. I will focus on Part 5, which pertains to the use of the funds. There are 3 categories of funds. The first 2 consist of state funds, which cover personnel and current program sustainability. The third category is federal funds designated for new programs. The planned budget for career and technical education for the 25-26 school year is a little over $53.8 million. This represents a slight overall reduction of approximately 2% compared to the 24-25 school year. The reduction will be managed through annual vacancies to ensure no impact to the classroom. So I'll bring us back to this. This work, which aims to support students in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools to graduate enrolled, enlisted, or employed, reflects the values of our community. These values are highlighted in the 2023 CMS Board Community Listening Analysis reflected here. As demonstrated in the report provided today, significant progress has been made this year toward achieving these goals. We are enthusiastic about continuing this progress into the 25-26 school year. I will now turn it over to Chair Sneed to facilitate questions.
All right, board members. Board Member Monterey Devon.
Thank you for that presentation. I'm curious, how are we aligning the employers and community partnerships that we're partnering with to ensure alignment with real workforce demands across the region and et cetera, nation, if you will?
So I'll start, and then I'll let Mr. Buchanan add. So one of the entire work of career and technical education, the expectations that we look at the 10-year forecast of the job market in our area, and so that we make sure that we are connecting with the partners in our area and what their needs are, so that as we are helping students go into the workforce and get those credentials, that we're aligning it with where the work is going to be, not with an area that we think will not have job opportunities in the next year to 5 years.
To add to that, our Business Advisory Council provides inputs, and that's one of the general statute requirements, that we get input from them to make sure or ensure local workforce demand that they see fit, that aligns with, what we can find on websites, et cetera. So we just had, about 2 weeks ago, our Business Advisory Council meeting and presented all of our opportunities and asked them to provide input on what's available versus what they think is in demand. So working with them directly, looking at our online website sources, and just constantly communicating with our business partners to ensure what's needed in our area is what's in our schools.
Thank you.
Board Member Easley.
Yes. On the grant application and budget page, Part 5, I think is what it says. Yeah, that one. It's that federal funding. I'm just asking, how confident are we in those federal funds? Was that a grant? Do we have the fund? Like, where are we in that process? Because I know we've had some issues with federal funding in the past, well, this year, like with what's going on. Is that do we have this, where is that? Are we assuming we're going to get those, or is that something that can be taken away from us, that we, dropped on us like the other ones have? I'm just wondering where we are on that.
I would say, and Chief Klutz can interrupt me, but we certainly know that federal funding is a decision that could be changed at any time. However, we're anticipating to move forward and receive the federal funding. which is what we have to do, is to continue to move forward. And then we do have some state funding as well.
Okay. So the follow-up to that is there, hypothetically, is there a, I hate to use this term, concept of a plan? What happens if those federal fundings go, I mean, I'm not expecting you to have a fit plan for every, you can't plan for that, but is there a concept of an idea of what to do if that funding does go away so that we can continue to support our CTE programs?
Great question. We believe that this particular pot of federal dollars is fairly safe. We say that because in the proposals that we have seen thus far, CTE is not mentioned at all, and it is actually protected. So because it hasn't been brought forward as a potential cut, we feel really good about it. We also have a continuing budget resolution at the federal level that supports these numbers.
Great, thank you for that.
Dr. Witherspoon.
Just for clarity, in the grant application budget part, you mentioned a 2% reduction. I missed that. What was that?
So our planning budget that we received is 2% lower than what we received actual last year, so it could still be the same once we get the actual budget. However, we've already built the budget out and made the revisions or reductions with things that would not impact the classroom.
I have a question. One of the things that is important to me, particularly as we developed a goal for the 3 E's, is tracking the data in terms of what's happening with our students post, once they graduate. And are we breaking down the data, like you said, 95% of the 3,000 plus that self-reported? Do we know for the employment E, is that meaningful employment? Like, are they making livable wages? Are they on a path to making a livable wage? Like, are they working at because that's employed, working at fast food, or, something that may not have a good career projection?
The survey currently doesn't get that granular. It's more of surface level. Are you currently enrolled, enlisted? Post-secondary opportunity. It doesn't get to what you're asking for, which would be welcomed if it did.
Yeah, well, I think it's important that we have to know that.
So currently, we're using the DPI survey, but we can certainly work with our accountability team to develop a survey that would add those additional pieces, much like we do other surveys on off years from the state.
Are there any other?
So as we continue to expand the credentialing opportunities, if we're not doing so already, how is CMS ensuring that all students, regardless of school or zip code, have access to Tier 2 and Tier 3 industry credentials?
Well, that's dictated by the course. So the course offered, we looked this up on a DPI provided website. It's the course, they dictate the credential and tier level that's aligned with it. If that course is offered and that credential is aligned with it, we receive additional funding set aside just for credentialing to make that opportunity available to our students. And a lot of times there may be a second attempt as well.
The other thing is that we are working with our school counselors and principals to make sure that we can make students completers as early as possible, because there's lots of research about when students complete a pathway in CTE, they're more likely to stay in school and graduate, so that we're making sure, because I think your question is how are we ensuring a core experience for all students across the district? Yes. And that's what we're doing.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Now turn to Dr. Hill for her report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. My report tonight will highlight excellence achieved this year in all of our pillars. Dr. Witherspoon heard this already at Summer Leadership Conference, but I think it's worth you hearing it again, and I'm going to go really fast. So we'll start with academic excellence. We had Herculean academic gains in both grade level proficiency and college and career ready. 12 schools were recognized as Capturing Kids' Hearts National Showcase schools. 20 schools reached Rising Star status for the implementation of Capturing Kids' Hearts. CMS students earned more than $97 million in scholarships. Over 11,000 of our high school students are enrolled in college level or advanced placement courses. 289 graduates completed their associate's degree. Our CTE students have earned over 6,900 credentials so far. 10,000 of our 8th grade students attended the Endless Possibilities Choice Fair. 82% of students in grades 8 and 10 have completed the career interest profiles. 89% of our students in grades 8 through 11 have begun their course plans in Naviance. 3 students received the Blumey Awards, and we achieved a FAFSA completion rate of 53%. For people excellence, 83%, we had an 83% rate on our teacher working conditions survey, which is up from 69% last year for the state administration. That's around 7,470 teachers. You are speaking and we are listening. 86% of those participants said that they believe they are an important part of their school and are proud to work at their school. 95% of teachers agreed that their evaluator provided them with an opportunity to share their thoughts. 93% of teachers said feedback was delivered constructively. 99% of our teaching positions were filled this year, and 97% are currently filled for next year. Our staff turnover rates are down 4% from 18% to 14.4%. 92% of our schools have at least one nationally board certified teacher, which puts us 3rd in the nation. 100% of our new teachers had an onboarding and new teacher orientation experience. Our beginning teacher turnover rate is 8%, down from over 23% in previous years. Our CMS teaching residency had 180 program completers, and next year we already have 300 candidates. And over 2,000 employees have been engaged in at-home at CMS. For operational excellence, we opened 2 new schools and 1 replacement. We increased cybersecurity. We created an AI vision statement and guiding principles. We are leading the nation in our approach to AI. We implemented phase 1 of the classified compensation study, and the board will be voting on phase 2 today. We launched at home in CMS, and we established a comprehensive device life cycle refresh. For engagement excellence, 97% of our families are active in Parent Square. We had over 80,000 guests attend our graduations this year. Over 22,000 family engagement touch points. We created and launched the Family Portal. We launched Family Academy. We had more than 45,800 volunteers that provided over 146 hours of volunteer service, which has a monetary value of $5 million. Our community partners have provided almost $1.5 million in the form of in-kind donations and almost $20.1 million in resources and programs. Give it up for the work that's been done this year. Now for just a few brief announcements. Parents, please complete the transportation intent to ride survey if your child will need transportation for next year. Our summer food service program for children started on June 16th. Children ages 1 through 18 receive free meals that meet nutrition standards based on federal guidelines through our MEC Eat School program and Meal Direct's meal delivery program. We encourage everyone to check out our summer family resource guide, which you will see displayed on our main website. This guide is filled with valuable tools, activities, and connections to both district and community resources. In closing, I would like to take a moment to thank our board and board leadership for your courageous leadership. Thank you for setting the standard for how boards of education should operate with the student outcomes focused governance model. Thank you for keeping us focused on the vision and values of our community. I'd like to say thank you to our students for your hard work, curiosity, and keeping us on our toes, and to our families for the opportunity to partner with you in your child's education. I'd like to thank all of our volunteers and community partners for your contribution to enrich the lives of students and staff every day. And I would like to thank our CMS employees, over 20,000 employees. I would be surprised if you could find any employee in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools who would say they haven't been asked to do something ambitious, challenging, Herculean, or just plain hard this past school year. And I also think each of these people would also say that our students are better off thanks to their amazing efforts. I'd like to thank our leadership team, which is inclusive of our principals, our central office leaders, and executive staff. Doing what is right is not always easy. That's why there's very few people who want to do or can do successfully what you do every day. You have an incredible work ethic, business acumen, a standard of excellence, and integrity for doing what is right. even when it's not easy. You have a heart for Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools to become the very best district in the country because our students, our family, our staff, and our community are worth it. Thank you for continuing to strive with excellence without exception. I love you all. And the last thing that I would say, speaking of love, is Chief Lisa Mangum is retiring after 42 years of service. All of you that know Chief Mangum, she is a pillar of strength. She has a sense of calm, courage, and care. Thank you for always taking the time to talk with me early in the morning, late at night, on the weekends.
Yeah.
Well, I will not miss the content of those conversations, talking with you, even though I know I still have to have them. What I will miss is always your assurance and letting me know that we have a plan and that we will be okay. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you. I want to give Chief an opportunity,
Today, the last
if
day.
she would like,
Today. 30th, okay.
to say a few words.
I think the best thing I say is thank you. And I've absolutely loved being here. That's all I'm going to say, is all I can say. But thank you very much. This has been CMPD for 30 years. I thought was the greatest. This is the greatest. And I thank you.
Well, on behalf of the board, I do want to say thank you for being that steadiness and calm and just, I don't know what it is about your presence, but it is one of, that is appreciated in that it is, we feel secure when you're here, especially particularly in the climate that we're in today. It is a testament to just who you are as a person. It radiates from you. It really does. So thank you.
I say a point of privilege. Chief Mangum, you and I have had some special times together, so thank you. Thank you for your protection, for your support, your communication. I wouldn't have been able to make it this far without you, so thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We'll now turn, we have 8 action items this evening. The first one is modifications to policy S-HOM, students experiencing homelessness. I turn to Board Member Easley as a member of the Policy Committee to make this motion. As it's being reported out of committee, it does not require a second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I move to propose the modifications to policy S-HOM, students experiencing homelessness. The proposed modifications are intended to strengthen support for students experiencing homelessness and ensuring compliance with applicable federal and state laws, and include the following changes. Change of the name of the policy from students experiencing homelessness and students in foster care to students experiencing homelessness. Remove reference to the 2015 ESSA amendments to the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act. Remove provisions relating to students in foster care. Define unaccompanied youth. Outline the district liaison role for homeless children and youth. Clarify enrollment and attendance procedures to ensure immediate enrollment of homeless students even when documentation is lacking. Outline how to enrollment disputes are handled in accordance with S-ASGP/R. Redefine how the district collaborates with external agencies that provide health, housing, and other support services to homeless students and their families. Define how the district will remove barriers to the education of homeless children and youth. The policy met and considered these requests at our May 14th, 2025 meeting and unanimously recommended approval to the full board.
Board Member Easley, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you.
there any other comments? Well, the motion before us is modifications to policy S-HOM, students experiencing homelessness. All those in favor by show of hands. Those that are virtual, if you can if you could speak to whether you're yes.
Their hands are up.
No.
Yes.
I want to record it.
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right, by Madam Clerk, that is unanimous. All right, the next action item for this evening is creation of policy S-FOST, students living in foster care. I turn to Board Member Easley as a member of the Policy Committee to make this motion. As it's being reported out of committee, it does not require a second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I move to approve the proposed creation of policy S-FOST, students living in foster care. This new policy, which adopts language from policy S-OHM, sets forth the framework to support the educational stability of students in foster care. It includes the following key components: defines what foster care is, when a child is considered to be in foster care, as well as types of foster care placements that exist. Clarifies that a child in foster care shall remain in their school of origin, the school the student was attending at the time of placement in foster care, or the time of any subsequent placement change, regardless of any placement change, unless it is determined not to be in their best interest. Directs the superintendent to develop the framework for.
Board Member Easley, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you.
Is there any other discussion? The motion before us is creation of policy S-FOST, students living in foster care. By show of hands for those are present and those that are virtual by voice, in favor.
Yes.
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 Madam Clerk, is unanimous. The third action item for this evening is modifications to Exhibit B-IND/E, Board Operations Procedure Manual. I turn to Board Member Monterey Duval as a member of the Policy Committee to make this motion. As is being reported out of the committee, it does not require a second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve the proposed modifications to Exhibit B-IND-E, Board of Operations Procedures Manual. The modifications include change references to board services to board operations, clarify the timing requirements for the board agenda outlined in Section 2.7, including revised procedures for requesting the removal of items from the consent agenda to the action agenda, revises the board's code of conduct to clarify how private information should be handled, update the superintendent's evaluation section to include the board's current goals and guardrails, enhance guidance on communication norms between board members, clarify board expectations related to superintendent communication with the board, including when the superintendent is required to inform the board about emergent issues, urgent matters, and significant news events. The Policy Committee met and considered these requests at our May 14, 2025 meeting and recommended approval by the full board.
Board Member Monterey Duval, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you.
All right, is there any other comments? Being none, the motion before us is modifications to Exhibit B-IND/E, Board Operations Procedures Manual. For those present by show of hands, those virtual by voice.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. It's unanimous, Madam Clerk. Fourth motion for this evening is classified compensation schedules, Phase 2, implementation of compensation study. Before the board acts, I turn to Dr. Hill to introduce this item and make a recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The classified compensation schedule, Phase 2, this process was originally initiated last spring. As you will recall, we went to the county commissioners and requested funding for Phase 1. That was provided. We implemented Phase 1 earlier this year. Again, we went to the county commissioners and requested funding. It's a $2 million investment for Phase 2. And at this time, I don't believe we've received any questions on this item, so would ask that you approve as presented.
I turn to Board Member Monterey Duval to make this motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to accept approval of salary schedule recommendations from the Compensation Study Plan Phase 2, including the approval of annual step increases for classified employees with an additional year of CMS service beginning in January 2026 and remaining as long as funds are approved in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Board of Education's annual budget.
Board Member Monterey Duval. Oh, one minute. No. I'll entertain a second.
Second.
Second by Dr. Witherspoon. Board Member Monterey Duval, would you like to comment on your motion?
No, thank you.
Is there any other discussion? There being none, for those present by show of hands in favor of classified compensation schedules, Phase 2, implementation of compensation studies, for those virtual by voice.
Yes.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, that is unanimous. Fourth. For the fifth vote this evening, fifth action item is the new elementary school on Old Park Road site redistricting project. Before the board acts, I turn to Superintendent Dr. Hill to introduce this item and make a recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This information has been provided with multiple opportunities for engagement, including a public hearing. We've not received any additional questions, so at this time request that you would approve it as presented.
I turn to Board Member Klein to make this motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve boundary option 1 for the new elementary school on the Old Park Road site redistricting project as recommended by the superintendent.
Second.
It's been seconded by Dr. Witherspoon. The motion before us is the new elementary school on Old Park Road site redistricting project by show of hands, by voice for those are virtual that are in favor. Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
Right, hold, 1 second. Board Member Klein would like to speak to her motion. I jumped ahead.
I wanted to thank Dr. Hill and Dr. Balknight, who looked at asking for a delay back when we were looking at boundaries. I want to thank Ms. Serbeck, Ms. Braswell, and Matt Cropper, the Cropper Group, who met with numerous family groups to receive input that was very valuable, and the community felt very much valued by hearing their concerns and listening to them. So thank you very much.
Is there any other comments? There being none, the motion before us is approval for the new elementary school on Old Park Road site redistricting project. Those in favor by show of hands and voice for virtual.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries. It's unanimous, Madam Clerk. Losing count. The sixth action item before us this evening is for the CMS academically and intellectually gifted 3-year district plan. I turn to Board Member Byers-Bailey to make this motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools 2025-2028 academically or intellectually gifted AIG 3-year plan as presented. This plan has been developed in accordance with the requirements of Article 9B of the North Carolina General Statutes, which mandates that each local education agency establish a comprehensive AIG plan addressing the specific components outlined by the state.
Motion has been properly made by Byers-Bailey. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Klein. Board Member Byers-Bailey, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you.
Are there any other comments? There being none, the motion before us is the 25-28 CMS academically and intellectually gifted 3-year district plan. All those in favor by show of hands, voice, virtual.
Yes.
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 Madam Clerk, is unanimous. Motion carries. The seventh action item before us this evening is the 25-26 Career and Technical Education CTE application for state federal funds. I turn to Board Member Monterey Duval to make this motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve the 25-26 CTE application for state and federal funding as presented.
Second.
Board Member Monterey Duval, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, ma'am.
Or is there any other comments? Being none, so all those in favor of the 25-26 Career and Technical Education CT application for state federal funds, by show of hands, voice, virtual, in favor.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion carries. Madam Clerk, that's unanimous. The last action item for this evening, yes, is instructional specialist salary schedules. Before the board acts, I turn to Dr. Hill to introduce this item and make a recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am asking our Associate Superintendent, Angie Wood, to come up, please, and Kelly Klutz, Chief Financial Officer, to give a briefing on this topic.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Sneed, Vice Chair Rankin, and esteemed board members. We bring to you tonight the superintendent's recommendation for the instructional specialist compensation schedule. When named interim superintendent in January of 2023, Dr. Hill received multiple requests from a wide variety of stakeholders to review employee compensation. When named superintendent in May of 2023, Dr. Hill continued to hear these concerns throughout numerous stakeholder engagements. There was a clear call for transparent and competitive compensation to recruit and retain employees. Over the last 2 years, compensation has been reviewed and great strides have been made. Tonight's recommendation is an example of this work related to instructional specialists. Additionally, and as a reminder, instructional specialists are critical to our district-wide theory of change. In fact, specialists are the first brick in the theory of change. School-based master teachers must be, they deserve to be, supported, trained, and developed in their roles. When we fund district specialist positions, we are funding the training and development of our master teachers and subsequently our classroom teachers. A couple of areas that emerged in our review of compensation. Instructional specialists have not been on a teacher contract, which is inconsistent with their role. The superintendent plans to address this item operationally. Instructional specialists have been paid on a classified pay schedule. The superintendent is addressing this through a recommendation to the Board of Education. So tonight, the superintendent's recommendation for the instructional specialist compensation schedule is the CMS certified teacher salary plus a 5% supplement. To break this down further, this is the North Carolina salary schedule plus our annual local supplement plus an additional 5% to equal the total salary. I will now turn it over to Chief Klutz.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. You may be asking yourself what that looks like. This is a screenshot of the 24-25 Certified Bachelor A schedule. All of the schedules are available on our district website. So to calculate a compensation package for an instructional specialist, you would go to the total annual 12-month column and take that salary and multiply that by 5% and add that to the total proposed salary. For example, an 8 and A10, the total amount of the 12-month column has a salary of $68,103. You'll multiply that by 5% and get $3,405.15. Adding those together, you have a total compensation of $71,508.15. And so that's how an instructional specialist is placed on the schedule before you. The recommended salary schedule reflects the recommendation from HIL Consultants. They're the experts that the district hired to conduct the classified compensation study, who recommended the instructional specialist align to the North Carolina teacher salary schedule based on their licensure. It positively impacts compensation for the overwhelming majority of instructional specialists. It significantly increases the ability for the future earnings potential of our instructional specialists. And it provides a transparent pay structure. The superintendent's recommendation tonight for the instructional specialist compensation schedule is CMS certified teacher salary plus a 5% supplement. Tonight, we ask the board to approve the recommended instructional specialist salary schedule to be effective on July 1st, 2025. If approved by the board, the instructional specialist will receive a communication from the compensation team detailing their specific compensation in detail. Chair Sneed, this completes our presentation.
Thank you. I turn to board members I'm sorry. Turn to Dr. Hill.
Do you have anything else?
Okay. I turn to board members Byers-Bailey to make this motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the superintendent's recommended instructional specialist salary schedule as presented, effective July 1, 2025.
The motion's been made by Byers-Bailey. Is there a second?
Are we not allowed to ask questions? Or does that happen after them?
Not until.
I second.
Okay, thank you.
Until the motion.
Okay.
Vice Chair Rankin has said now. Board members Byers-Bailey, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you.
Board members.
Yes.
Board member Easley.
So I have some questions. Our instructional and specialists, they are instructional leaders, they support teachers, they work year-round onto a teacher salary designed for 10 months in classroom roles. This shift begins to ignore the extent, responsibilities, and leadership, the nature of these positions, raising serious questions about fairness and professional respect. How are we justifying reclassifying these specialists when they do all of this stuff?
It is the recommendation of the experts who do this work statewide, and it aligns with their job description and classification of employment.
Okay.
Did you have
Yeah, I have more.
Okay.
You've stated that no current employees will see a pay cut, but what happens after July of 25 when their contract is up and it's a new contract? Will they then be moved to the same teacher salary where they would move or not move based on their years of experience?
The Board of Education or the superintendent has the authority to commit future boards or future budgets. So I can't speak to that indefinite guarantee.
And I just want to add a little bit more clarification around that. If you'll notice, anytime you're approving any type of compensation, as whoever read the last motion, the last sentence is always as budget allows. Like legally, I don't want to speak legally. That's a thing. All of our employment is contingent upon future budgets.
Okay. May I keep going? Why has CMS chosen not to do a grandfathered option that currently protects our curriculum specialists from being downgraded to a teacher pay? And then these veterans teachers, many with advanced degrees, who have stepped up into leadership roles. Shouldn't we be doing more to retain them? I mean, I don't care who answers that.
I have a completely different view. It is certainly, in my opinion, not a downgrade, but actually the opposite, in that we are reflecting their certified salary that they went to school for and they spent experience doing, and now we're going to reward them on the teacher schedule, and we're also going to reward them with the potential of having increased earnings over their career. So if you look at the trend of increases over the last 20 years or 25 years from 2001, you will see that on a certified schedule, the trend is a 95% increase since 2001 for a certified employee. However, employees on a classified schedule only received a 52% increase. So in the certified schedule, these individuals will have the potential of earning nearly double the annual pay increase based on historical trends since 2021.
So I just want to follow up on that. So thank you for that very detailed response. Based on this plan, two-thirds of our employees will receive an increase. They will be making more money after this is approved than they currently are. 1/3 of our employees will not receive a decrease, but will continue to receive a differential. Because we have said from the very beginning in report after report after report, standing from this dais, documented in your board docs from January 14th, that we set out on this journey would never, ever intend to take pay away from our employees, to decrease their pay. So there's just not clarity around what you're specifically.
Well, I mean, usually teachers have a one-year contract. After the one-year contract, they sign a new contract, but that's a new thing. With a new schedule, I understand that you're not losing pay, but as a new teacher contract, would that adjust their pay going forward after 2025?
So the contract is something that's completely different than what their salary is. So currently, our instructional specialists are classified employees, and they're classified as at will. And so if you take a look at Board Policy P-EMPW, it outlines exactly what an at-will employee is. So an at-will employee is an employee of the Board of Education that can be terminated at will. They can be terminated anytime, or they may voluntarily resign their position. So in other words, there is not a contract, a piece of paper that is an agreement between the school district and that employee for employment for a term that's outlined in the contract. Instructional specialists are performing instructional duties, and as such, they should be aligned with the North Carolina teaching salary schedule and earning credit on their license and earning pay based on their years of experience. The only way that you can earn years of experience is if you're paid on the schedule. And if you're performing these duties, these are teachers that deserve a contract. So
Okay.
I think the two have been, and quite naturally so, confused, which is why we provided information to our specialist and as well to the board to kind of clear some of that up. But just to be clear, these folks are not going to lose pay. We've cut over $1 million out of our central office budget to pay for it. So that is to go towards the 2/3 of our instructional specialists to bring them up in pay, and then 1/3 their pay is going to be maintained with a differential because they're already above what the recommendation is.
Thank you. Finished.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, we have a motion before us is to approve the instructional specialist salary schedules. All those.
Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand, Vice Chair Rankin. Go ahead.
No, I just want to take the time to say to instructional specialists that reached out. We heard your questions, and I want to say to district staff, thanks for taking the time to answer many of our questions, because there were questions from not only from specialists but also from some board members. I want to just want to thank you for taking the time out to really give us a better understanding of why the change is being done and the overall reason behind it. And I think, for the most part, in the long run, this is something that was a recommendation that was made. Possibly that could be better for the district as a whole. So thank you, staff, for answering our questions, and specialists, thank you for your questions, because those questions kind of sparked some thought process for all of us on the board. So just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo Vice Chair Rankin's sentiment. When it comes to these issues around compensation, they're never an easy vote. And I just want to reassure all of those that reached out that I didn't take any of your concerns lightly. And I spent many hours speaking to staff and even constituents on this matter. But I also want to recognize that without board action tonight, instructional specialists would remain at will, and that could lead to even more uncertainty around their roles and compensation. While this recommendation may not be perfect for everyone, I think it provides structure, protection, and ultimately a path forward. And that is why I'm going to support it, but I just want you to know it wasn't an easy decision, and we spent a lot of time deliberating the pros and cons.
Board Member Klein.
I'm going to thank Dr. Hill, and Ms. Klutz, Dr. Cohn. And I'm sorry that she's not here due to a family emergency, and we're thinking of her, for listening to our concerns. We put y'all through the ringer because we had lots of questions. And I want to thank all the people who reached out to us, because this is tough. Some of us on the board have been specialists and understand at will is not necessarily the best feeling. And this is a protection for your position. And that's really something that I find very important for everyone, because there's the summer times when the specialists are really busy. They're the ones doing the workshops, they're doing the planning, and so we can't do without them. So thank you for listening to our concerns, and we did hear you.
Was there? Board membership.
Yes, I also wanted to say thank you for so many questions being asked, and I want to thank you for the depth of the responses to these questions and continuing to answer them for clarity and understanding. And so I want to thank Dr. Hill and her staff, Dr. Khan, unfortunately is not here tonight, and also who actually gave us some more questions and answers even tonight. So thank you. And also Ms. Klutz and everybody who's been involved in this, because this was a tough one. And I have been an instructional specialist, like I think Board Member Klein was alluding to. And so I really understand this, and it was a difficult one because there were so many pieces, but I really appreciate the time and the work to help us get to this point where we clearly understand, and teacher contract is important, and for them to understand the teacher contract versus being an at-will employee and what that really means. So thank you for all of this and bringing this to us in this way. Thank you.
All right, I think that we are ready for the question. And yes, thank you to staff for entertaining our many questions, even late in this process. As board members, we have an obligation to respond to the public respectfully. We have an obligation to respond to you all respectfully. We have an obligation to interact and respond to each other respectfully, no matter the difficulty of the decision. That is the standard that we have. That's the standard we should have, and it should be a standard of excellence. With that being said, I think we're ready for the question. The instructional specialist salary schedules is before us to approve. All those in favor by show of hands. And those on the virtual. So that is 6. All those opposed? No, sorry, it's 7. 1 opposed. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.